Hello, welcome to IMO with me, Aaron Bastani. You can follow me on Twitter, @Aaron Bastani. You can follow Novara Media on Twitter, @Novara Media. Feel free to comment on and share this video under the hashtag IMO Bastani. And make sure to never miss an episode by clicking the subscribe button just below. Thanks for watching. Last Wednesday saw a major protest in central London in solidarity with ongoing demonstrations in Ferguson, Missouri, and elsewhere in the United States, responding to the murder of a young African American, Mike Brown, by a white police officer who will not be indicted for his actions. While those protests are a particular response to the death of Brown, they're also a more general response to structural racism of policing and so much more in the United States. But obviously the problem of racist policing and structures of white supremacy more broadly are not limited to the US, and that's why I want to highlight today 3 points in relation to racist policing right here in the United Kingdom. Number one, the numbers. The colour of your skin statistically has consequences for how you are treated by the criminal justice system. Those of Afro-Caribbean descent subject to court proceedings for drug possession offences are 4.5 times more likely to be found guilty than Caucasians, and they're subject to immediate custody at 5 times the rate. Number two, they smear and lie about those they kill. Immediately following the verdict of Duggan's lawful killing by a firearms officer in the Met, the Daily Telegraph wrote how gangsterism, not racism, was the root of Mark Duggan's shooting. Meanwhile, an editorial in the Evening Standard wrote of how nobody could be too surprised in such circumstances when criminals of this kind come to a sticky end. Those conclusions represented the continuation of the lies that had been initially disseminated after an unarmed Duggan had been shot. That there had been a shootout, that Duggan was carrying a gun, and that one of the bullets he had fired had been lodged in the radio of a firearms officer. None of this was true. The intention of this initial reporting and instant comment was to create a context for the action, one which purposefully aimed at framing events as legitimate, even if, as in this particular instance, what the police had done resided beyond any possible justification. Most of the British media, and much of the public too, accepted this uncritically, seemingly for no other reason than because the person that had been murdered was working class and black. Duggan's record consisted of 3 offences, all minor: possession of cannabis, handling stolen goods, and minor assault. There are members of Parliament with worse, and none of these offences would infer a career criminal or a gangster. But hey, this was a black guy who wears sportswear and has a gold ring, and that seems to be good enough for the British press and the British Broadcasting Corporation. Number 3, they have impunity. A recent Freedom of Information request revealed that of 2,720 complaints made between 2005 and 2011 regarding racism in the Met, not only from the public but also internally, only 2 police officers lost their jobs, and even then they were forced to resign on full pensions rather than being sacked. One example of just how immune the police are from any meaningful consequences for their racist actions is the case of Mauro Demetrio. With the encouragement and assistance of Newing Monitoring Project, Demetrio released an audio recording to the media of the racial taunting he was subjected to in the back of a police van in 2011 by PC Alex McFarlane, who told him, "You'll always be a nigger." Here was a recording, it seemed, which highlighted an experience so frequently reported by black communities and so infrequently covered. And yet Demetrio's case was initially dismissed by the Crown Prosecution Service, who viewed it as insufficiently strong to bring a charge of racial abuse. Following a public outcry in response to the media's dissemination of the recording, the CPS then reversed that decision, and the case came before the courts. PC McFarlane subsequently faced trial for racially aggravated public disorder, but the judge dismissed the case after 2 juries were unable to reach a unanimous decision. Finally, I want to finish with the story of Christopher Alder. Alder sustained a head injury as a result of an assault in 1998. He was later arrested to prevent a breach of the peace, being dragged while handcuffed and unconscious out of hospital, before later being left to die on the floor of a police custody suite as 5 police officers looked on. The officers present at the time of Alder's death refused to take part in the Police Complaints Authority inquiry into it. At the subsequent inquest, they were called to give evidence, but on more than 150 occasions, they refused to answer questions, citing coroner's rules that their responses could provide self-incriminating evidence. Following an unlawful killing verdict, the officers went on trial accused of manslaughter and misconduct in public office, but were cleared on the orders of the judge. Some justice system. How racist is British policing? How racist is policing where you're from? As ever, comments are really appreciated, and if you have any personal stories regarding the police, feel free to talk about them below. Okay, that's all for this week. Like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. I'll see you same time, same place next week.